Salutations, my name is Summer and this is Sterling Reads, and I'm sorry about the fan. It's just so hot and I do not have AC. I realize it's loud, but I have to be able to breathe. So I started a new job and I'm now back on thirds, so this is my only day off this week, so I'm trying to fit this all in because it'll be January before we know it, and this is May is behind me. I see her tail. Anyway, so I want to talk about some things that I've read. I've read a ton. Being on third shift, I have a couple of hours every night that I can actually read, like in between every 15 minutes, but it adds up to being like a couple of hours. And then I've been listening to more audiobooks because I have like a 45-minute drive, which I've really been enjoying that too. I've actually been listening to some things that I normally wouldn't listen to, I don't think, or books that I wouldn't pick up to read necessarily. There's certain things I cannot listen to on audio. I cannot listen to classics on audio. I have to physically read those. But books that seem like suspense novels, rom-coms, which I don't usually go for, but I'm needing lighter things because of what I do for work. So anyway, let's just get to it. Some of these I finished a while ago, so it's hard to remember everything, and I just tell you a little bit anyway about the books. The Vanishing Kind I did finish, by Henderson. This is the 4th book in her series. Alex Carter, I want to say, is her main character's name. She's a wildlife biologist. This time she's going to New Mexico to look for jaguars. And these books, there's Prim. These books, I love them. I mean, I've heard people complain about them, and I can see how you could find things to complain about, but I actually find these quite fun in a strange way. Anyway, I thought this one was good also. I really enjoyed it. All I gotta say is Casey. There's a main character that is just one of my all-time favorites that's in here, so he showed up again in this book. So I read Book Trek. Is that what it's called? I'm not for sure. I'm going to type in everything that I've read or I'm reading down in the description, so that way if I mispronounce, and I've read quite a few things on Kindle, or I listen to things which I can't show you, I'll type the books down below, so that way if you're interested you can look down there and yeah, get it and read it if you're interested. So anyway, Blackfire by Sonni Cooper. I thought this was great. It mostly based itself. I thought she was gonna sneeze on me, my little thing. Anyway, mostly it focused on Spock, and he ended up getting himself in trouble because he cannot lie, and he has to do what his conscience tells him to. And yeah, I was wondering how he was going to get out of this. It was like getting close to the very end, and I thought, how is he going to get out of this? But he did. Spock managed to do it, so it was a lot of fun. Very good. I haven't picked up another one though. I have a couple in my car that I might read, but I can't tell you their titles. I think one was like Ghost Walker. It was by a different author. That's the thing about Star Trek. The authors are like all over the place. Another book that I finished, which was a reread, and that's Comanche Moon by McMurtry. This is the second, well, it depends. It could be considered the last book in the series. I consider it the second book in the series because I go by the age of the characters, not necessarily when it was written. But I believe he wrote this one last. But Lonesome Dove comes next age-wise of the characters. So I love the whole series. Streets of Laredo feels very different than the other 3 books, but I love them all. This book has so much torture. I mean, rape, suicide, skinning people alive, and the details he goes to. Inappropriate sexual situations when he talks about Ines' wife and things she likes to do with everybody. Yeah, anyway, I absolutely love this. At the very end, Augustus McRae and Woodrow Call are talking to each other about how much it hurts them when horses are hurt and that they have to be put down, or that they're just suffering, how it actually makes them nauseous, the idea of horses suffering. And they said something about, oh, like, it's okay. They didn't say it's okay. The wording was interesting, though, how they're like, it's hard when a person dies, but to see a horse suffer. Anyway, fantastic, absolute favorite. I go back and forth between Lonesome Dove being my favorite and Comanche Moon. Comanche Moon is so tough with the torture scenes. I actually set it aside this time when I was rereading it. Actually, it might be a third time I've read this now. Lonesome Dove I've only read once, but Dead Man's Walk, I believe I've read that twice, and this one might be 3. Streets of Laredo I've only read once also. I was thinking about going in and reading Lonesome Dove next, and then I thought, no, you are reading a ton of other things, and I want to finish some things up too. Something else I finished was The Furies by John Jakes. I absolutely love this series. This is the 4th book in the Kent Family Chronicles by John Jakes. I think I might have said before that John Jakes is from Ohio. I thought he was from Dayton. That is not true. He's from like Chicago, and then he lived in like the Carolinas, and then he went to someplace else. What are you doing, May? You can't really see her except for her tail. I haven't got her shaved yet. I think it'll happen soon though. Anyway, absolutely love this. This is following a family line. In each book, you're going to have the children of who was in the book before. And it keeps happening that way. And it's continuing. I know this has to be our main character who just passed away. And so it's her son now and her cousin's son who we are going to be having in the next book, I'm sure, which is The Titans. And this is book 5. And I am so excited. And plus, I just love these old editions. So even though this book, half of it I read on my Kindle. Here's something else that's weird about my job. So I'm under these harsh lights, and certain books I'm having trouble physically reading reading a physical book, and I do need to go get my eyes checked. But for some reason, in that light, I can read my Kindle just fine. So I was gifted these on my Kindle, so I've been reading. I finished reading The Furies on my Kindle at work, and I love that. Talking about my Kindle, let's see. I have my cheat sheet paper here. Right now, I am reading 2 books that were gifted. A Prayer for Emma Meany by John Irving. I'm halfway through that. And then The Love Haters by Katherine Center. And I believe that's her newest release, which I really enjoy her. She's not heavy, there's going to be some kind of romance, and there's going to be some kind of growth with the character. I'm really enjoying it. So those books, those 2 are the books that I am reading on my Kindle. A Prayer for Emma Meany and The Love Haters. And then I'm listening to The Boarding Room by Paul Fleischman, and that's why I need to type this down below, so that way if you're interested, you'll be able to see the author spelling. The Boarding Room is, I think Goodreads said it's 112 pages. So I'll be finishing that audio. I might finish it tonight. It's so good. But I ordered the physical book from my mom from the library. It's about this girl who, her family moves to Ohio. And this is during the Civil War. Actually, it might be right before the Civil War. Civil War actually, I think, is going on. but her family isn't involved in it. But she's talking about Ohio's a free state, but they're still slaves, so it has to be during Civil War. I should say American Civil War. There's been lots of civil wars in the world. But anyway, she meets this slave, and she brings her home, and she puts her up in the barn in the hayloft and feeds her, and her mother ends up giving birth and having a really hard birth, and she ends up going and getting this slave woman to help her, and she does help her deliver the baby safely. But the slave, when she was talking about her traveling up north, and once she got to the Ohio River, she said she was looking for a light, a candle up in the top window up on a hill. And I've been there. She's talking about the Rankin House in Ripley, Ohio. I actually got to tour it and everything. It's right on the Ohio, and it was part of the Underground Railroad. So that was exciting since I had been there. But anyway, she missed it. She ended up grabbing hold of a log, getting swept up with the Ohio River, and she came farther downstream. And I'm pretty sure she mentioned, see, here's the thing about listening instead of reading. I'm pretty sure she mentioned Paint Creek, which I live by Paint Creek, so that's why I got the physical book also. I want my mom to read it. It mentions Quakers, but I also want to say, was it Paint Creek that she said? Because hearing it, she mentions another town that I thought I was hearing. So it was familiar, and then it was like Lansing or something that's not familiar to me. So the boarding room. The boarding room is a room that they would have that the women, it was like a very plain room, small plain room, and women would give birth in there, and family members would pass away in the boarding room, and it's pronounced like born, like being born. I thought it was so interesting, and I'm really enjoying it. And then the other audiobook I'm listening to is longer. It's by Nora Roberts. It's called Identity. And I needed this silly type suspenseful book after the other audiobook I just listened to. So anyway, Identity is about a woman who, she meets this guy. So she works 2 jobs. She was in marketing, and she's a bartender, and she owns her home, and her best friend lives with her. Well, she's bartending, and she meets this guy, and she ends up like hitting it off with him, and she tells her best friend, like, oh, I met this guy, I really like him. And her friend's like, invite him over, like, I'll invite my boyfriend over, you invite this new guy over, and we'll make dinner. And so she did that, and everybody just got along really well and hit it off. Well, her friend ends up, the next day her car breaks down. And so she has to put it in the shop, and then she gets sick, and so her work sends her home. And anyway, the main character, which I can't think of her name right now, she is at work when all this is going on. Well, she texts her friend like, hey, do you want me to bring home Chinese? And she doesn't hear anything, and she's like, oh, she's really sick in bed. She comes home, and the glass is broken in the back window of the door, and somebody's broken into her house. And it looks like they stole like ridiculous stuff, like things that don't even cost that much money. But then she sees that they got into her, or they had stole like her laptop. They didn't steal her laptop because they ended up killing her best friend because she was home when she wasn't supposed to be, and with the laptop, like hitting her with the laptop, and then stealing the other one. Well, anyway, she doesn't know who did this. Like, this is just random, she thinks. Like, I don't know who would do this. I don't have anything. But she does have quite a bit of money. It's funny about Nora Roberts. She's like, oh yeah, these people are poor and they got thousands of dollars, and she's a homeowner. And anyway, she is a hard worker though. Can't give her that. But where am I going? Okay, so anyway, the FBI ends up showing up a couple days later, and she's devastated. I mean, that's one thing. She is writing, Nora Roberts writes that she is not getting over this easy, and she's not hearing from this new guy that she invited over, and was hoping to see more of. Well, the FBI shows up and they're like, what all did it take, blah, blah, blah. And she tells them, and they find out that this guy stole her identity. The reason why he chose, her name's Morgan. The reason why he chose her is because he chooses somebody that he can actually steal their name. So her name's Morgan, which could go either way, either sex. And so, yeah, he ended up stealing all her money, put her in like, opened up all these credit cards underneath her name, put her in like $300,000 of debt, because he was able to take all these loans out because he's a homeowner. Yeah, it's insane where he's taken her life. But he's upset because we're hearing about him too, where he is now, because he's on the run, living this different identity. But he's upset because he wasn't able to kill her. He had to kill her friend. And so now, you know, eventually he's going to come back around. So it's like suspenseful. Some books that I finished. Oh, I wrote down Comanche Moon. I don't know why I wrote that down. The Rats of Nimh is a reread, and that is by Robert C. O'Brien. Which I have the physical book somewhere around here. I don't know where, but because I read it when I was a kid, and I think I gave it to my niece, so it should be like in her room. But anyway, I forgot all about the Rats of Nimh. For some reason, I forgot that they were scientifically. Lord, I'm tired. They were experimented on. And that's why they were so smart, because the mice are just as smart and they weren't experimented on. So, but anyway, yeah, and it was so sad. You know, some of the rats that you know, have this, like, you get, like, you really like because they're helping her out, Mrs. Frisbee out, and saving her family, end up getting killed. And so, yeah, I'm wanting to read more. I think the next books, though, are written by a female. I don't know if Robert C. O'Brien wrote any other Nimh books, but I definitely want to look into it. So the reason why I had to start reading Identity is because I read The Friend, and I do not know how to pronounce their name. Sigrid, Nunez, I don't know. I used to have a dog named Nunzio, so every time I see that, even though it's like it's not spelled the same, I think of Nunzio. But anyway, this is the book that has that Harlequin Great Dane on the cover, and it's got all these different colors. Anyway, The Friend. Oh my goodness, I cried and cried and cried, guys. So, you know, this is one of those where this is spoilers too, so don't listen if you haven't read it. But it's one of those where the dog dies at the end. And I didn't know that. I go in blind to books. But yeah, it's about, and I ordered the movie. So hopefully I'll get to see the DVD because it has Bill Murray in it, and I really like Bill Murray. So anyway, our main character, her best friend, he's a writer, and she's a writer. Anyway, he committed suicide, and she kind of inherited his dog because she didn't want it to be going to the pound or anything like that. And it's this Great Dane, and Apollo is its name. Just her relationship and how she starts to just depend on him, and he depends on her, and just his personality. The author was so good at, this author has dogs, has loved a dog before. The very end, which you start to see this dog age, and Great Danes don't live very long anyway, but the very, very end, the last sentence of this book was so beautiful, talking about the little cabbage butterflies, Apollo's out sunbathing, and I want to say flock or cluster or whatever of these little cabbage butterflies, the little white ones, come over and settle on him for a second, and then they go off, and she was like, I don't want to start crying, but Anyway, very good. But it's also one of those that talks about suicide a lot, which is tough to read about, and the death of an animal. And she had cats before, so she also goes on about the death of her cats. And yeah, if you've been through it, you've been through it. So 2 audiobooks that I listened to were very similar. One was The Trail of Lost Tears by Tracey Graves, and then the other one was The Last Love Note by Emma Gray. The Last Love Note was about a woman who had, her husband died. He got I don't know if it has a different term, but Alzheimer's when he was very young. So they even had a young child. So, and you know, it happened very quickly. And so that's devastating. It was about her relationship with him and how that all went about, and also his death, and how is she going to get through this without him. And also it's also about like a romance with his best friend or something. Like I couldn't quite get, like, is it her? And this is the thing with listening to audiobooks. It is very different to me. When I read something, it's like I take everything in so easily, and when I listen to something, I don't know, it's like sometimes I feel like I even put a different perspective on things, and a person's tone of voice and accent can change a book for me. There's been times when I could not stand an accent and I did not want to read the book, and then I thought, you know what, I'm going to just try to read it, and then I loved it. It was the accent that ruined it for me. That these were both fine, though I didn't have that in this case. But I don't even know where I was going. I'm so tired, guys, sorry. But The Trail of Lost Tears by Tracey Graves, I really enjoyed that. It was about a woman, and here where it was funny how I say they're similar, it's about a woman who was engaged to this man, and he ends up dying, getting killed in a car accident, and she goes to, he's laying in a hospital bed, but he dies. I don't think he ever, does he ever wake up? See, here's the thing about listening to audiobooks. No, he dies. Anyway, but they're in he's in a coma. They're in the hospital. She's in the hospital. And all of a sudden this woman comes in and she's like, who are you? And it's his wife. So he was living a double life. He was doing that whole like, oh, I have to go to the city to work, so I have a place in the city, and then I come home on the weekends with one, like, I don't know how that would work, how that would ever be enough, especially when you have a wife and kids. But, so it was different. It wasn't really quite a love story in that sense, because she lost her fiance, but he wasn't really hers in that sense. He was just, I don't know what he was doing. I don't know, because you don't ever hear his side of it. I don't know if he had planned on leaving his wife or he just wanted to juggle it for as long as he can. You can't marry somebody when you're married to somebody else. So I don't know. Anyway, they were both good. I enjoyed it. I like listening to audiobooks, but I prefer physically reading, but when I'm driving, I cannot do that. Anyway, I think that is everything. There was a lot of stuff going on. For July, I plan to definitely read The Titans and continue on with my John Jakes. And I want to read the second book in Lark Rise to Candleford. I think it's called like Over to Candleford, maybe. There it is. Yeah, Over to Candleford. And that's by Flora Thompson. And then I want to read Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I've read it a ton of times. It's funny, I'm kind of thinking about it a little differently. I love it. I think it's very funny. She's very witty. But I'm thinking about the characters a little differently than I have in the past. So I'm excited about that. I am still reading A Time of Terror. I just read like 1 or 2 pages because it's about somebody's horrific death. And I don't like that. I don't like that you're put into a character and then he kills that character. And you don't know what somebody's thinking when they die. And it really upsets me that he felt like he could write like this woman. So they don't shut off the gas. So they get the different places, houses, buildings, get these pockets of gas, and they have these explosions. Well, this woman, she was in one of the explosions, and she was blown into the water. Well, here she is, burnt, like, she had to be in shock. Anyway, she's being swept along. She grabs hold of a telephone pole, and he says something like, she was thinking, I'm so glad that so-and-so, like, I guess her husband or whatever, can't see me right now. And then she sinks into the water and dies. No, you don't know what she was thinking. She could have been thinking about any matter of things. I don't understand why. I'm not liking it. I'm not liking it, guys. Anyway, how are all of you doing? I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're staying cool. I know some of you live in areas that this time of year it's cool, but it's very hot where I'm living right now. And yeah. Anyway, I had planned to mow the yard today, and it didn't happen. So maybe I can get it done tomorrow and get a nap in and go to my quilting group and get all that done and still be rested enough for work. Anyway, yeah, let me know what you're reading. Let me know how you're doing. And yeah, let me know. Also, there's a lot of new things going on. I heard about like that PI, is it PI? For July. Exciting things. I'm not interested. I don't even, I've tried Sherlock and it's alright. I know that's horrible. Every once in a while I want to read a Kathy Wright's book, a Temperance Brennan. I do keep up with those, but that's pretty much it. I'm not really a mystery. I do like Agatha Christie, but other than that, I don't really read all that. I just get kind of bored with it. But I am listening to that suspense novel, and it's pretty good. So, but let me know what you guys are reading. If you're doing Jane Austen July, I don't know what else is going on. I really don't. But anyway, I hope you're all doing well. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.